In today's video, I'm getting the chance to install some garden fencing with my father. We're going to give you some great tips as well as talk about some of the challenges if you are planning on building some sort of a backyard garden similar to this one up next.
So here we are at the garden. We started out rototilling the grass. We added about 2 to 4 inches of mulch. We covered it with this weed barrier, and then on top of the weed barrier we're putting grass to not only hold the weed barrier down in wind, but also to keep any weeds that might try and grow through the cracks of the weed barrier, preventing that from happening. And after we planted, we actually put up these wood 4x4s as our posts, had 2x4s and 2x6s as our cross pieces, and now we are putting this wire 2 inches by 4 inch gaps in this wire fencing, basically to keep the deer and the rabbits out. And the way we're doing it is, instead of nailing it or stapling it first, I'm using zip ties, much like this, to wrap around.
Those got to be, what, 18 inches?
This is about
12 inch maybe?
Maybe 14.
Okay.
And then I just zip tie it. I'm not going to do it right now because it has to be raised
Sure,
up.
we'll work on raising it up.
And then just zip tie it, and after it's all wrapped around, and again, basically this is so that it gives us a starting point. When I start stapling onto the posts, we are going to keep this really taut so it doesn't have all of this. So you can see over there, it's kind of bending out. We're going to prevent that from happening once we put the staples in. We painted our posts to a little bit, 3 coats of exterior paint, just to protect them a little bit better from the weather. And hopefully we'll get this done in a short period of time.
Tell me more about the posts. So what's holding the pieces of wood together? Looks like you got some brackets in there.
First of all, when we put the posts in, we sunk them about 12 inches or so into concrete. And then I have some brackets that are just metal brackets. The 2x4s and 2x6s slide between these brackets, and there are screws that hold them to the brackets.
So we used 2 inch by 4 inch galvanized welded wire fencing. This was 4 feet high by 50 feet in length, and hoping by using the galvanized that this would reduce the rusting over time. We'll see how that goes. One 50-foot roll was not enough to cover the entire garden, so we had to use a second set of fencing, and here's my dad snipping off the end of the fence. There were little tabs left on it. This allowed us to have a flat last rung of fencing that we were able to butt right up against the first rung of the next roll of fencing. Here's my dad going through and zip tying all the pieces together, all the rungs to hold it. And having 2 people doing this project makes things a whole lot easier because one person can roll out fencing while the other person is attaching it to the fence post. So you can see my dad going through with zip ties and securing the top fence posts, the horizontal, the vertical fence posts in all different places to hold the fencing along those posts. Between the 2 of us, we worked together to not only roll out the fencing, attach the fencing, but keep it nice and tight, making sure that it stayed even and level across each one of the posts. We would make sure to secure the fencing to the posts first, and then we would go back and snip off any excess. A whole lot easier having 2 people. So we are using some of these staples. Pro tip, we're using the staples, but in order to save our fingers, using the pliers there to hold it in place, and then we're pounding it in. So here we are about a week later, and we are looking at the finished product, and I can see that all the fencing is stapled on. We have some zip ties that are on there. Dad, why don't you explain a little bit more about what else you did to finish up this fencing project?
When we strung the fence, we used zip ties to hold it in place, and eventually staples were used, regular staples out of a staple gun, and then there are some staples that are U-shaped that you pound in, and that's to supplement the zip ties. Although the zip ties by themselves work really well, I just put in some staples to fortify some of the gaps that bulged out. Regarding the door, you want to, when you put the door up, in order to make it level so that it opens and swings levelly without hitting the ground, place a board from one post to the other right across the top before you hang the door. Then you get your door and you clamp it to that board, leaving a little gap between the top board and the door. Put a level on the door, and you'll see when it's level, you can either clamp one side up or the other side up just to make it level. And then when you have it all level, you add your hinges, added a little latch over here, and the door should swing without hitting the ground. This sprinkler is one of those that goes side to side.
Sure.
And you can adjust how far you want it to go on either side. We just stuck it in a hole here, hooked the fence up, stuck it in a hole in the fence.
Yeah.
Hook up the hose, and it does all the work. So as you can see, some spots the ground is not completely level. There's a gap here where any animal, small animal, can get under the fence. So you can build up dirt there, but they'll just dig through the dirt. So we have this weed barrier. It's a simple kind you can get from any hardware store. We're going to just take about a foot length, staple it to the bottom of the fence, and then cover this with dirt, and eventually we'll put some plants in here. But this will prevent animals from getting through there. They'd have to work at it to get through it, so hopefully they would just give up. But we staple it and then cover it with dirt, and you have some simple protection.
Can you take us inside the garden, and we'll talk a little bit about what you have set up in here for the different plants?
Before we planted anything or did anything, we rototilled the ground, and then below what you see is grass. Below that is the weed barrier.
Okay.
And that's all the way throughout the whole garden.
Yeah.
We covered it with grass clippings from our lawn. It's a good way to reuse these grass clippings. And that prevents the weeds from growing up through the weed barrier or through the grass. And it's a perfect protection if you don't have any covering at all. Then you can cut holes in this before you lay the grass down and plant your various plants, covered up with some dirt surrounding the plants, and then add more grass to protect that.
And what are we growing in here this year?
We have onions, cilantro, peppers, garlic, tomatoes, lettuce, kale, all sorts of good ingredients.
What is the size of this garden that you guys have fenced in here?
The garden is 32 by 16.
Okay.
That's feet.
Did you have any challenges with working on this, the garden this year?
To start with, when we put in the posts, we didn't exactly line them up because we more or less did it freestyle. So if you come over here and look down the line, you'll see that there's a little
bend there. Yeah. Sure.
And the way to resolve that is to stake, before you put your posts in, put a stake in the ground on either end with a string real taut so that you have a straight line, and then you can line up your posts. When you dig your hole, you can line up your posts better.
Okay, good to know. Well, a big thank you to my dad for letting us explore the garden. Do you have any final words?
I do. It takes two people really to do the fence work from beginning to end, and my thanks to my son Jeff. And also the garden is, I did the fence with Jeff. The garden actually belongs to my wife Sue, who just spends hours maintaining this garden, and with results that are fantastic. Fresh vegetables, fresh herbs all season long. Thank you, Sue.
We hope that some of this information you can use if you are in the process of wanting to build a garden for yourself. My name is Jeff. Once again, big thanks to my father for letting us explore the garden, and I appreciate you guys watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button. You can subscribe to this channel. We may be doing a follow-up video or possibly videos as the season goes on, so be sure to check those out. You can also check out all the other tech reviews and do-it-yourself projects that I do on my channel with my weekly videos. And if you spotted a little robot popping up during this video, his name's Tinker, and I hide him in every one of the videos on this channel. Be the first person down in the comments to let me know the timestamp. That's the amount of time into this video that he pops up, and if you're the first person, I'll put your name on our Hall of Fame page as well as give you a shout out in one of my future videos. So be sure to make every day awesome, and I will see you guys in the next video.